Coming to an upright and balanced posture. Letting go of conceptual thoughts and thoughts about the past and the future. Just making the determination to be directly aware of what's arising in the here and now, in the present moment, within this mind and body. Aware of the body and the sensations in the body, keeping the whole body in the field of awareness. Anything tense or tight, letting that relax. And if the rise and fall of breath is noticeable, bringing that to the front. Of what happens in the mind when turning towards the breath. If any other sensation comes along, like a sound or a body sensation, notice it very clearly. And what happened to the mind when that sensation came in. keeping the breath in mind and letting the breath come to the front. Aware of the mind when the breath is in the front, filling our field of awareness with just the breath. Resting in calm awareness, aware of how that is in the mind. Experiencing any kind of distraction or reaction, noticing how that is in the mind. Returning to breath or letting breath stay in front to keep the meditation centered. I wanted to say a couple of words about the cessation of feeling and perception. This is a meditation which is accessible to non-returners and fully enlightened arahants. It's their pleasant abiding. And the reason it's pleasant, I think you may get from the content that we've talked about today, seeing how feeling and perception are the fuel for the arising of agitation and proliferation in the mind. When it's combined with delusions about the self and clinging to concepts, then it can indeed, any kind of feeling, including pleasant feeling, any kind of perception, including perception of nice things, can be the occasion for agitation in the mind, as well as, not to mention the unpleasant suffering kind of experiences, the feelings that come about when we are associating with what is disliked or being separated from what is liked, not getting what we wish for, and so on like that, and facing up to old age, sickness, and death. Any kind of feeling is got the characteristic of dukkha. Any kind of perception has got the characteristic of dukkha. We could say in part because of that agitated quality, and also in part because these phenomena are impermanent. So you can never find refuge in a pleasant feeling. And you cannot find refuge in a perception. Even if you focus on the form of the Buddha and use the phrase Buddho and get the perception of the form of the Buddha very well fixed in your mind as a perception that then becomes the anchoring point for meditation. Nevertheless, even that perception is impermanent because it's your mind. Your mind is impermanent. And so if you're having the perception with this impermanent, frail, ever-changing human mind, that perception can be somewhat stabilized, but it's never really truly stabilized. And because of that, it has that characteristic of dukkha. So then there's a way in which when we practice meditation, we gradually go from experiencing something that's more busy to something which is more peaceful. Maitri was inquiring before about how the anapanasati, or the mindfulness of in and out breathing, is one of the perceptions, or why it would be included in this sutta. And I think I can show you how especially the perception of abandoning, of dispassion. Abandoning is pahana, dispassion is viraga, and cessation is nirodha. We can build up to these in the Anapanasati Sutta. So in the first tetrad of the Anapanasati, when we are focusing on the body of the breath, or the material breath, the last bullet in this set is breathing in, calming the bodily formation, breathing out, calming the bodily formation. It doesn't mean that we're using force to suppress the activity of the body. We're not using force to stop breathing, but rather as one is letting go of the hindrances and the reaction of central desire and aversion and restlessness and doubt, even laziness, as those distractions are fading away, then the mind can first become happy, and then become tranquil, and then become very calm and equanimous. And so that tranquility is something that happens naturally in meditation. We don't have to use force. It comes about naturally. But the sutta is pointing out and sort of highlighting for us so that as the body formation becomes calm, we notice it, because the instructions have set this up as something to notice, and then what you notice, what you direct your mind towards, what you direct your awareness towards, or what you think of, that becomes the inclination of the mind, or that becomes the inclination of the heart. So just by putting a frame around calming the breath, because you've memorized that phrase, and then while you're doing meditation and the breath becomes calm, then you recognize it. It's like a picture frame around a picture that makes you see it more clearly. Then the second part is about the set regarding Vedana. So the piti, or the strong joyful interest in the object, the joy that's arising because of feeling so relieved to be away from the hindrances temporarily. One is sensitive to that, and then the extreme sensations like piti is very often has some kind of like counterpart in the body. When experiencing the piti, or the bliss from meditation, you may feel like shivers running up and down the body, or a warm feeling all over the body, or some kind of like bodily sensation resulting from that. And this becomes too much busyness. It's like you get sort of tired of it, even though it's pleasant, but the mind is not interested anymore in that. And so then the piti then fades away, and then what remains is the happiness. And that happiness is more purely mental, not physical. And then you see that the piti, in this case, that's a sankhara. Piti is actually a mental volition. It's something intentional. I translated piti as joyful interest. So it's this is something that, like, it's happening on purpose. Oh, take an interest. Happily take an interest. So it's an action of the mind. That's a sankhara in this case. And so then the last one of this set is calming the mental fabrications, or calming the mental formations. So to whatever extent there's something like active going on with the mind about this Vedana, the pleasure and bliss, you can experience that becoming more calm. And then, and the third set in the Anapanasati is about gladdening the mind, pamoja. So now the meditation is not anymore like interested in body pleasure, but it's more like in the mind. So one knows how to lift up the mind into gladness or into happiness, and then one knows how to let the mind become as steady and stabilized. One knows how to release the mind. And so in that case, the process of what we talked about, the builder, the mind is the builder of our universe, the mind is constantly fabricating and so forth. Okay, that whole process of fabrication is dismissed. Then, in the last tetrad of the Anapanasati, it's almost as if the first 9 perceptions were in a way an explanation of what we're doing in the Anapanasati. So this is the aspect it's speaking about Dhammas in the Anapanasati Sutta. So you breathe in, aware of impermanence. Breathe out, aware of impermanence. Okay, this is hearkening back to the beginning of the meditation on perceptions, where you contemplated and developed that awareness of impermanence. And then seeing impermanence, naturally, why would the mind cling to something that's impermanent if it truly sees it the way it really is? So it's not clinging to that anymore. Then you breathe in, focus on dispassion. That's that viraga. So viraga is discussed up above. And viraga is the elimination of craving. So when there's no craving left, the mind is free. Then you would think, oh, this is peaceful, this is sublime. The stilling of all formations, the relinquishment of all attachments, the ending of craving, dispassion, nibbana. This is the contemplation of dispassion. And so that's the explanation of what you will be doing at the end, near the end of the Anapanasati Sutta, when you are breathing in, breathing out, aware of dispassion. And then the next one is, in the Anapanasati, is you breathe in, focusing on cessation, or nirodha. Breathe out, focusing on cessation, nirodha. And then the nirodha is any tendency or any inclination that could be keeping going around on the cycle of rebirth. Cessation of the physical formations, the verbal, the mental, cessation of the aggregates, the cessation of suffering. So this is what one is experiencing just at the doorway of full awakening, at the doorway of Nibbana, is when you really experience that full, true awareness of what Nirodha really is. But in our meditation, to whatever extent there's some kind of energy that we may still have in daily life that keeps us spinning around and around, that keeps us grasping, that keeps us reaching, that keeps us creating, that keeps us pulling towards rebirth. But then to some extent, as a result of our practice, we have partly let go of that. We're not doing it. We're not creating our new existence for ourselves the same way that we were before, because we're not practicing our life with the intention of getting a good rebirth. We're practicing our entire life with the intention of aiming toward that which supports cessation. And then it may be that in meditation, temporarily, all of those creative or spinning kind of like impulses they just disappeared, they died off. And one can realize that actually that this cessation is a possibility. I think beginners in meditation who have not practiced meditation or who've not contemplated or considered about these ideas, then would not be able to have any idea about what this phrase is pointing to, the contemplation of cessation. This is the third noble truth, the noble truth of cessation. Instead, I think an ordinary, common person would just be thinking the world just goes around and around, and we try to be accepting that that's just the nature of things, to keep on going around and around, and to have the best possible life within that framework. But the combination of wisdom, reflection, and contemplation in combination with meditation, there's a possibility to get the taste and to have like a transformation of our view where we say, whoa, yes, cessation could really be possible. And so that would be the purpose of that that training. And then the last training in the Anapanasati Sutta is training on the letting go. And this is corresponding to the eighth and ninth out of the 10 contemplations in the Girimananda Sutta. This having the distaste for the entire world, this whole fabrication that we've created of the world concept system, not wanting to pick that up again, and then the perception of not wishing for any sankhara, any volitional formation leading to rebirth. You don't wish for it, don't want it, don't want to pick it up again. So if, as a result of some temporary experience that you've had, perhaps on a longer meditation retreat, or sitting in the presence of a really great Dhamma teacher, hearing great Dhamma from somebody who's realized it for themselves, then or in your own solitary meditation practice, you may have realized that taste of freedom, then coming out from that, you don't then want to get back into your birdcage. You don't then wish to get back on the merry-go-round, having had that taste of freedom. And that's the significance of that last point in the Anapanasati Sutta. And so this point is explained in the Girimananda Sutta. So in this way, the reason why is the Girimananda Sutta includes the Anapanasati at the end is because this is kind of a different way of looking at things that can give you a deeper and more profound way to take up the practice of Anapanasati. So this is what I have to tell you about the cultivating the peaceful perceptions, the perceptions that are leading to true peace, true freedom, true tranquility in the body and the mind, the perceptions that help us to let go of all of the stress and agitation from grasping after things based on negative emotional reactions, which in turn are based on a deluded and actually some could be evil concept about how the world is that some people could justify that, I need to be angry because the world is not fair, and or I need to fight because I need to protect what's mine. All of these kind of deluded ideas that a person can have that really are where we certainly make ourselves mentally ill, and also we hurt ourselves both in the body and the mind. And so by developing these opposite perceptions, we can bring about healing of the body and mind. I welcome any questions or comments that anybody wants to make about this last idea that I'm giving out. And if there are no questions, I would be very pleased to have us close by reciting together the homage to the Triple Gem. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami.